I am 16 years old and I suffered from a deep vein thrombosis, or a DVT, that grew from my belly button to my knee, and a somewhat rare condition called May-Thurner syndrome. Typically, 16-year-olds don't get DVTs, not to mention being diagnosed with May-Thurners. But, as I said previously, I am weird. On February 16th, I was diagnosed with severe anemia. Even my doctor was shocked by how low my hemoglobin levels were. She made a quick joke on our way to check the results, saying, "This is a routine test, you'll be fine. It's not like your hemoglobin's going to be at 6. Yeah, my hemoglobin was actually 6.8. And I was diagnosed with iron deficient anemia, and I was put on a crazy dose of iron to get my levels back up. Typically, if levels this low, there's suspicion that internal bleeding is involved. Sure enough, I tested positive for a possible bleed and was sent to a gastroenterologist. My gastroenterologist then sent me to a hematologist-oncologist, or HEMONC for short. They decided to give me an iron transfusion to help raise my levels before performing any procedures. The vein in my arm took a hard hit from the iron transfusions, and I developed phlebitis, which is an inflammation of the vein. Days later, while at the volleyball tournament, which was the first weekend of spring break, the vein turned red and hard, so I asked the trainer if I should apply heat or ice. His response was that I needed to go straight to the ER because I could have a life-threatening condition. My mom was out of town, and needless to say, I started to panic. So here I go again, back to the ER. I was told that I'd be fine and that the vein was just a little stressed. It's not uncommon with a transfusion like that. However, thanks to the transfusion, my hemoglobin levels started coming up quickly, and I started feeling stronger than I had felt in months. I remember calling my mom, who was still out of town, and I told her I was back. It was Tuesday of spring break. I was feeling great. However, after this, the dominoes started to fall. My mom was flying home Wednesday night, which I remember specifically, because 24 hours after calling her and saying that I was back, I woke up with a stomach pain that I just couldn't shake off. I went to volleyball practice that evening and tried to push through the pain, but it only got worse. I texted my mom and asked, "Why is this happening to me? Why can't I just feel good?" That night, my mom made me sleep in her room, but there was very little sleeping. As I thrashed around trying to ease the pain and find a comfortable position to sleep, my mom kept trying to convince me that we needed to go to the ER. I refused until about 5 a.m. when I just couldn't take it anymore. Finally, I stopped being so stubborn and told my mom it was time to go. This time at the ER, they performed a CAT scan and multiple ultrasounds trying to rule out an appendicitis. We were then told that there was evidence of a possible retroperitoneal bleed in my pelvis, which could be life-threatening. After 7 hours in that ER, I was sent by ambulance to the ER at Texas Children's to receive more testing. So I spent 6 more hours undergoing more ultrasounds and testing. Needless to say, they couldn't find anything and I was sent home. Remember, 16-year-olds don't get DVTs. And I'm medically weird. I was scheduled for an endoscope and colonoscopy the next morning, so I wasn't worried. I assumed that it must be a stomach ulcer and we'd have an answer soon. I lucked out because the doctor couldn't do the colonoscopy since I couldn't do the day-ahead prep. But the results from the endoscope showed no internal bleeding, and I was hopeful that this was finally my turning point. I had been scanned head to toe multiple times. My endoscope was normal, and I started to believe that whatever was wrong with me had healed, and I was on the road to recovery. I was wrong. By Saturday night, I started to feel a slight pain in my leg. Initially, I shook it off as nothing, but when I woke up, Sunday morning, that pain had escalated to something I've never felt before. I tried going about my normal life because I thought perhaps I had strained a muscle and just needed to stretch. Later that day, my mom told me, "Kara, I'm so sorry for everything that keeps happening to you, but the doctors can't find anything, so you need to start finding the will to feel better." I now understand what she meant, because everything was starting to take a mental toll on me. Monday morning, I woke up around 5 a.m. with the worst pain I'd ever felt. I had no idea what was wrong until I flicked on the light and I could see my leg. My left leg had ballooned to almost twice the size of my right, and a vibrant pattern of red splotches covered my leg. I hobbled into my living room and patiently waited for my parents to come in. The moment my mom saw my leg, I knew it was bad. She took a picture to send to our doctor friends, and she went rushing to her room to get dressed. I know she was trying to stay calm, but I could see the concern on her face. My mom raced me to the ER again, where I was immediately put on morphine and blood thinners. From that moment on, my memory is a little spacey. I don't remember my second ambulance ride to Texas Children's, or when I was admitted to my room. All I remember of that day was the 103-degree fever, and because they couldn't give me ibuprofen, my mom was using ice packs to help me break the fever. That was the worst night of my life. My next memories were when I was in pre-op, getting ready for the surgery to remove the clot. This is when I met Dr. Kukrasia, the interventional radiologist who would be performing my surgery. I remember this moment so vividly because I was a little shocked when I found out that the surgery would take 6 to 7 hours and would most likely be multiple procedures. As I was processing this information, I could see my mom starting to cry. Thankfully for me, they had started my anesthesia, so I was out for a very long nap and didn't have time to get upset. The procedure that Dr. K performed is considered cutting-edge technology, and I was one of his first patients to receive it. The technical term for this procedure is a venogram with percutaneous transluminal angioplasty placement in the left common iliac using intravascular ultrasound guidance. My understanding is that he used a small rotor-rooter with a vacuum to remove the clot, a balloon to open the vein, and a small tube to keep it open. During the first surgery, Dr. K was able to remove 80% of the clot. The remaining 20% would be removed the next day. 13 total hours of surgery. I spent 3 days in the PICU with very few memories until the last day when I was told the surgery was successful and that thanks to the new technology, Dr. K was able to remove the clot in 2 surgeries instead of 3, and was also able to see the vein compression and place the stent. He also said that if he had used the previous standard of care, he would not have seen the compression, and I would not have been diagnosed with May Thurner's until I became symptomatic again down the road. For me, I feel like Dr. K saved my leg and possibly my life. I say that because many people with extensive clots like mine tend to suffer from post-thrombotic syndrome, which includes edema and pain for months and sometimes for life. Dr. K jokes that I am his superhero patient because of how quickly I recovered and with no side effects. Thanks to all my doctors at Texas Children's Hospital, I was able to fully return to activity. I was able to fully return to activity 30 days after my surgery. I had some limitations due to the blood thinners. Due to the blood thinners I was placed on, but my thrombosis specialist, Dr. E, has been absolutely amazing, listening to my concerns, validating the fact that I'm an athlete, and developing a plan that allowed me to continue playing volleyball and trying to be a normal teenager. My story takes place across 3 months, with 6 ER visits, 2 trips to the oncologist's office, 1 CAT scan, countless needles, more ultrasounds than I can count, and 6 days in the hospital for my spring break vacation. Thanks to all my doctors at Texas Children's Hospital, I am a success story. While my story has been quite long, I would like to share one important story which has stuck with me and is one of the reasons why I feel this passionate about the hospital. While I was in the PICU, and due to lack of bed space, I roomed with 2 young children, one with Pompe syndrome and one baby who was unresponsive and was most likely terminal. Brisa was the 3-month-old unresponsive baby girl next to me. The only person there for baby Brisa was her mother, who spoke no English. I remember doctors and translators coming in and out trying to explain to the mother what was going on, including the spinal tap they had to perform right next to me. Thankfully, there was a screen. While in the PICU, I never thought about how serious my condition was. I mainly thought about this little baby because I was confident that I'd be leaving, but I didn't know about Brisa. My heart was breaking for this little girl and her mom, and at one point I asked to say a prayer with the mother in Spanish. I let her know how unbelievably strong her daughter is and how she is fighting so hard. And as I left the PICU, her mother pulled me over and said a prayer for me as I was leaving. I still don't know what happened to Brisa, but I know that she had the best care anyone could ask for. Seeing all the sick kids around me that were dealing with much more serious situations than me put a lot of things into perspective. I'm unbelievably grateful to my family, my friends, and doctors. I'm thankful that we live in an area with access to the best pediatric care imaginable. And I feel passionate that all children should have access to this level of care. My success story is why I wanted to get involved with Texas Children's Hospital, and I'm truly excited that they are expanding here to the Woodlands. And I want to thank all my friends and family that were here for me through all of this. It's been one of the hardest years of my life, and I don't know what I'd do without the support that I had from all of you. Thank you.